I just mentioned about the homeless situation today, and everyone knows, how difficult that was for you. Someone said, you know what, it's nice to hear someone actually be human and react this way because it's a terrible story. But do we need to know more details on this other than these two seniors, died in a warming shelter? What else is there necessary that we know?
No, I think one thing I just want to reiterate, this is was very tragic. But, community organizations go through this many times during the year and nobody hears about it.
Yeah.
And I think this time around, I talked to a community organizations that actually one of them, he was actually on one of the boards of the organization. They know him for many years. So it's a tragedy, but it's a tragedy that comes too often. And I think this morning maybe fatigue and a sense of being powerless just, took over my emotions this morning.
Yeah, completely understandable as well. I know, as I said earlier, we know administrations, it's always a matter of trying to get the governments, provincial, federal, to realize this is a problem and provide more money and more support, because it's not just about money. So, I commend you for that. I did want to I started talking about this story and I said, I don't remember this coming up during the campaign at all. You're going to introduce 31 measures focused on promoting the French language in Montreal. What's this about?
Well, it's about, as you know, Montreal is a Francophone city. It's the biggest Francophone city in North America, and it's an important part of our identity, and it is something that we have to preserve. Montreal being a Francophone city is important. It's important in the overall perspective of our country having two official languages. And this city, we need to make sure that we are preserving that and promoting that. And the plan of action was actually a result of a committee that was already in place, and we had to respond to those recommendations. And the plan of actions is put in place and announced within the month of La Francophonie. And it's on the levers that we have as a city. The libraries, the houses of culture, and being exemplary in terms of administration. And I think it was important to do. And again, to your point, and I heard you say this at the introduction, it's not in any way or form against the Anglophone community. I think many members of the Anglophone community also are, c'est des francophiles, and they understand the importance of being a Francophone city. And I've always recognized the Anglophone community being a very important one. And I think we can do both.
You said something interesting, though. You said in presenting this plan, you said the city's Anglophones have a role to play in helping Montreal strengthen its position as a French-speaking metropolis. What is that role?
Well, the role is to make sure that even the Anglophones are part of the history of Montreal, and they have to be part of the future of Montreal, and the future has to be a city that is Francophone. It is an important part of our identity. It's an important part of who we are on the international stage. And I think the Anglophone community can also be part of that, because at the end of the day, it is a strength to be a Francophone city. Having a very important Anglophone community is part of who we are, and we should be proud of that. Okay. And I think the Anglophone community also has a responsibility towards that.
I'm going to bring something up because I know people listening are going to say, oh no, here we go. Not this administration, the last administration, I'm sure you're aware of that whole idea at the library where someone wanted to produce something in English. This says here, the plan also aims to ensure city employees respect the charter of the French language. Mm-hmm. We got into hot water on this last time around when you wanted to call the city and get something done in English, and you had to prove you were a historic Anglo. They had to read you sort of a bill of rights, if you were, before you're going to get served. Is that what's going to happen here?
No. And a citizen that needs to have a service in English can ask for it and should get it. It should get it in a way that they need to be able to function in the city, and that's also a part of what we should be doing. But again, we can do both. We can have the support of the Anglophone community to be this Francophone city, an international city, and we can be a city that also preserves and works with the Anglophone community when they need us to give the services that they need. And sometimes those services will be done in English. So
you will, that changes nothing. These 31 things you're going to introduce, you can still get, if you want to get your service from the city in English, it's not going to be a challenge to have that happen.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Can you, and I'm reading from notes here, can you mention some of the other things I saw? One of them is Music that, listening to French music, et cetera. What are some of the other things you want to see here?
Well, I mean, for instance, if you're in a building of a city and there's music playing around, can we just make sure that we're in majority playing Francophone music? Can we support our local artists in the space? It's an example. If I go to Korea, I can have a translation from French to Korean, and I can speak my language, which is French. And I think it's a part of who we are as a city, and I think that's a few things that we can do. But there's, again, like to your point, many other things that we can have. For instance, supporting, one of the issues that we're going to have in the city is making sure that the next generations, especially the youth, also understand and can live in the city in French if, and have access to that. Unfortunately, as you know, there are new generation, everything is online. There's no boundaries, and all conception of culture is mainly in English. And it is a concern around, the Francophone community being eventually not part of that culture in French. And I think that's also one of the things that we need to address, making sure that we are working with the youth and mobilizing community organizations around initiatives that, we can speak the language and encourage that. So there's, again, all of this has to be done, but also be supported by the Anglophone community.
Good luck.
Hopefully we stop the division between our communities in the city. I totally recognize the importance of the English community in our city and my city, and hopefully I can get their support to also make sure that we remain a Francophone city, if in our DNA and in our identity.
I was going to say, good luck getting kids off social media.
I know that's going to be a challenge, and it's not. There's not many. There's a few things we can do as a city, but of course, it's a bigger challenge. It's just for one city.
I wish you luck, Mayor. Thank you so much. I always appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
I'm Luke Wilson. Join me each week for Film Never Lies. Since retiring from the NFL, I've had a lot on my mind, and now I've got my own show. So if you're tired of lazy takes, if you want honest conversations, join us each week. Film Never Lies, available on all TSN platforms and the iHeartRadio app.